this is not international if you do not have international people, participants, speakers, donors, supporters, and so we start with our international guests, and we're giving you these acknowledgements. However, we expect you also to leave something in the local economy, as has been indicated by the guest of honor. So we'll start by kindly, maybe, if I can bother the guests of honor and my table to stand up, and possibly maybe come to the front here, it will be more photo op moment. Yes. After this, we will be going for proper photo shoots. But at this point, guests of honor and my table, if you can come to the front here. So I'll ask Professor Maxi Blanca Alexander. I'm sure you know this is one word for Karibu. Welcome. Just walk up, shake hands with the guest of honor, take a photograph. Professor Fortunato Samanzi. We say Jumela? Professor, is it Jumela? Karibu. Professor Emeka is online, so we will skip him. Professor Yona, engineer Professor Yona from the University of Dar es Salaam, Alexander. Professor Jacob is online, so we'll skip her, and then we have Professor Dr. Madanda from Uganda. Karibu Sebo. Sebo kuita yo.
It's also the winner, Hassan, Madam Dr. Roy, Alexander, thank you very much for the support.
As we mentioned earlier, a conference is nothing without the people who support. All this costs money, and so we want to reach out to the partners who make this possible. And we have the representative from TASA, Mr. Zirai. Please come to the front. Already there. Thank you. Workers' Compensation Fund. And International. National Microfinance Bank, NMB. Not here. CRB. Not here. SOS Children's Village. Not here. And Coca-Cola. We will keep their. Asante sana. So. This one, I have to hand over to Dr. Leon. Not Dr. Leon. We have a trophy in appreciation of your commitment in advancing the goals and well-being of our community.
a champion of all the efforts that have been done in the industry, and we really appreciate you very much. The trophy says in appreciation of your exemplary leadership in advancing gender justice, community empowerment, and the welfare of vulnerable groups in Tanzania.
Okay, thank you very much. Guest of honor at my table, I'll ask us to walk outside. We have prepared a place for photographs, just so that we have a memorable moment. And we'll take these pictures in groups, okay? Because it's quite a lot of us, and we all want to be seen standing next to the guest of honor because we might get an opportunity. So we will start with the high table, and then I'll ask the keynote speakers to take a photo with her. And following that, we will have the conference organizers. Following that, we will have the staff from the institute. Then we will have our partners, development partners, and then we'll have the students. Madagascar, Kwa hiyo tutafanya kwa makundi. Sawa? Kwa hiyo tuende tuweze kuuliza wakati mimi our keynote speakers will follow behind, and our partners and conference organizers tafadhali tujiandae wote tuwe karibu. Sitakuwa kuwaita tena nitakuwa kwenye picha.
speaker. Watu wa video bariki Kagoma. Ndio Mungu ibariki hapa.
Hapo Mungu ibariki na gomaga mwanadamu.
Sasa Mungu ibariki imegoma kulia ukumbini. Kwenye live inapiga chini.
Ndio maana wanaitangaza matangazo.
Mimi nimesha nifanya mimi pana mmoja pale live mjibu. Anaongea kwamba anajua kwanza siku ya kwanza hivi vitu tunachofanya hata haiwezekani. Sasa na mdomo wako hapa pia sasa anakwambia yeye ndo afanya sana.
Zaruni. Unisikilize.
Sasa
Link yako hiyo. Link yako hiyo. Hiyo nishabadilisha hii nani lakini bado inaniletea kitu kingine. Nishabadilisha si hapa. Sasa inakuja hiyo sio nini? Nishabadilisha. Ndio maana kuuliza imekujaje?
mafari ya mama mwanangu.
Tuanze huko.
Kwa nini sasa? Afu jamtumelidia mpimpira kwanza kwenye rekodi yake na mashuhuri.
Yote yapo na kwenye channel yao sasa. Nakata hii live.
kwanza.
Oh, kema. Ah, sema au weka bounty. Kuna gani ya kweli watu. Anaweza wewe weka hiyo.
Nimeinanilia, close. Ambaye anamulika mweke huyo msitu.
influential behavior. Siku nyingine kila siku wanasema siku ya Mungu Baba. Sasa we are going to start our technical session. We've done the opening and our meeting today conference has been raised by the Honorable Minister. And so from now on, we're going into the academics, which are the things we know, the things we like, the things we do every day. And we have this amazing lineup of speakers this morning. And I'm going to ask the ones that are in the room to come join me up here on stage. And the first is Professor Blanca Storenbaki from Norway. Give a big round of applause. Professor is from Oslo Metropolitan University. She specializes in social policy. She is an expert in digitalization of welfare services, labor inclusion, and organizational culture. She's a professor of automatically. She has a PhD, for those of us who don't know the career path of academics. Her research is strongly driven by commitment to improving opportunities for inclusion among socially disadvantaged groups, including immigrants and people with disabilities. In recent years, she has increasingly examined how digitalization has changed the welfare provision and social services and how these changes affect service users as well as frontline workers. She's deeply involved in international cooperation, as she is today, and she serves as a long-term guest lecturer at Edwards Johan University in Budapest and also collaborates with several universities, including the Institute of Social Work. Big warm welcome to Professor Bart. The second keynote speaker is Professor Adalbertus Fortunatus Kamante from Namibia. And he's a professor of development studies. He works with the University of Namibia, which is popularly known as UNAM. Yes, I spent some time there. And he has there they offer an MA, MPhil, and PhD. And both they have campuses outside of Windhoek, which is the capital. So he works also at the place called Oshakati and main campus. He focuses his research on the critical interrogation of development discourses with particular attention to how dominant narratives are read, misread, and mobilized in ways that dehumanize development practice and theory. His work bridges philosophy and development studies, drawing on African epistemology, Ubuntu philosophy, and decolonial thought to question technocratic and technically imposed models of development. He's committed to advancing development thought that centers human dignity, relationality, and agency. And his work consistently engages debates on power, knowledge, governance, leadership, and social transformation in African and, more importantly, the global South context. The third panelist who is here in the room today is Professor, our very own Professor, Engineer Professor Laikuna Obey Yona. Professor, he is a professor of practice, a distinguished academic, technology leader, and strategic advisor with enough experience, spanning over 4 decades. Are you what? Or you can imagine. He previously served as director of ICT in the government of Tanzania. He played a role in the design and implementation of the national ICT platform, the International and the National Internet Data Center. Professor Yona is actively advancing AI-driven innovation. 40 years and he's still a tech-savvy person. So he's actively advancing AI-driven innovation for sustainable development with a focus on human well-being, digital inclusion, and capacity building in developing countries. He serves as a mentor researcher, institutional leader, and contributes to higher education professional training and policy dialogue across the region. So not just for Tanzania, he shares his knowledge much wider than ourselves. His practice and work span academia, Nelson Mandela, University of Dar es Salaam, Nelson Mandela Institute of Science and Technology, TTCL, and the government, in the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. Have you done a pro? Look at my way out. Our fourth keynote speaker, we have two that are online, but our fourth keynote speaker who is here today, and I'd like to invite them to the podium, is Dr. Aramanza Madanda from Uganda. Dr. Madanda is a senior gender advocate advisor of Gender and Care International in Uganda. He has led the East Africa Learning Collaborative on Gender and Social Norms in 8 different countries: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. He has linked to global communities of practice in South Asia, Nigeria, Francophone Africa, and the global and has been global advisor to the government of Nigeria. He has traveled extensively from all the countries you guys just mentioned, and I'm sure more. He has international experience of gender from UNFPA, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern African COMESA, the African Union, Commonwealth, and the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, among others. I didn't feel his CV on this page, it's too big. He has taught gender at the Imperial University School of Women and Gender Studies, and he founded their Agenda and ICT program. He's a researcher, a practitioner in both development and humanitarian context. He has the requisite qualifications to carry the academic career. A quick brief introduction of our two virtual panelists, just so that I hope they are online. I'm told Professor Jacob is online. She's from Hungary. She is very humble. She's a professor of law at the Institute of Civil Law Sciences, Faculty of Law, at the University of Miskolc, Hungary, where she teaches. She also teaches at the Qualcomm Institute International University in Tbilisi, in Georgia, and she serves as advisor on higher education quality assurance at the Hungarian Accreditation Committee, and works as scientific officer at the research organization of the University of Miskolc. Her research focuses on labor law and social law, with particular emphasis on sustainable employment in changing economic and social environments. She's a full member of the Senate Doctoral School of Law and serves as the scientific secretary of the Miskolc Regional Committee of the Hungarian Academy of Science. So we'll be hearing from Dr. Jacob when the time arises. The second virtual participant on our panel this morning is Professor Emma Chukwuemeka, who is a celebrated scholar and professor of development studies in public administration at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Accra. He has a strong background in human resource management and social sciences. He holds a degree from public administration from Jumna in resource management. He has several qualifications. I think they will take a while to read through. But he is the chair of a board of trustees for Zuko of Fanco Land Development Initiative. He's fellow of the Chartered Institute of Administrators and Commercial Teachers. He's a fellow of the African Association of Public Management for Kenya, by the faculty in Nigeria. He's also the founder and chairperson of the board of trustees for El Rico Center for Vulnerable and Social Remedy, which is a non-profit. So, Professor Chukwuemeka and Professor Jacob, I will be calling on you when the time comes to give us your virtual insights. So, to kick us off this morning, we start with Professor White. If you can share your notes from the podium or from the seat, whichever is easier. You need slides. Thank you for slides. Thank you. So,
Well, I would like to thank you for the invitation. I feel really honored and appreciate to be here in Tanzania. I think it's my 8th time to be here, so I'm very happy to be here again. I'm just waiting for the presentation, and I can start my presentation. Thank you very much. So I would like to, so let me begin with the title of the speech. For me, it remains a simple and important question. How can digital transformation serve society? Not only how it can make economics more efficient or public institutions more modern, but also how it can contribute to sustainable and shared well-being. This is why I understand the phrase changing society in a broad sense. The well-being society shaped by both globalization and digitalization is force effects countries differently, but they are no longer limited to one part of the world. They matter in the global south and the global north, and they matter just as much in the global north. So, I would like to begin with the top first. Today, so today around 6 billion people are online. That's an important achievement. But at the same time, 2.2 billion people are still online, offline. And the divide is not only between those who are connected and those who are not. It is about also about the quality, affordability, and the usefulness of the connection. In high-income countries, 95% of people use internet. In the low-income countries, the figure is only 23%. Now, with the rapid speed of artificial intelligence, the divide may become even sharper. And somehow, in some high-income countries, about two-thirds of people already use artificial intelligence tools. In many low-income countries, by contrast, only around 5% do. These numbers tell us okay. So these numbers tell us something important. Digital transformation is not only a civic global experience. It does not affect all society or all communities in the same way. It is shaped by infrastructure, affordability, skills, institutions, and political choices. This means that the benefits of digital technologies, such as faster public services, better access to education, improved health system, financial inclusion, and stronger civic participation are not automatic, and therefore they need a balanced discussion. This is where the idea of well-being coming important. Digital transformation should not be set only by the number of users. The services or a growth digital market. It should also be assessed by how it affects people's lives, their education, health, work, security, social relations. So in this presentation, I do have to put digital transformation and aid as a simple solution for a simple fact. I approach it as a social and political process. First, we need to understand how digital transformation has shifted from technical issues to social, economic, and political conditions shaped by people's everyday lives. Continue. Why? We can ask, why is digital transformation now a determinant of well-being? A determinant of well-being is something that shapes people's quality of life. Traditionally, we think of well-being as shaped by income, health, education, housing, employment, safety, social relations, and access to public services. My argument is that digital transformation has now become one of these determinants. This is why the concept of digital well-being is important. Digital well-being refers to the way digital technology affects people's lives, both at an individual and political social. At an individual level, it means how people experience digital technology in their daily life, whether they set up devices for them to create more connected and capable, or whether they are create stress, exclusion, dependency, or overload. At the political level, it concerns how digital systems access to services,
Hapa mtachanganya nyaya
rights,
zitanistan
participation, and trust in institutions. So digital well-being is not only about screen time or personal online habits, it is also about whether digital transformation improves or weakens the conditions of everyday life. That's why digital transformation is no longer only a technical issue. It has become societal, economical, political, and ethical issue. And the question is whether digital transformation improves people real opportunities and support collective well-being. To make it more concrete, I will focus three areas of this connection, especially visible. In the relationship, in the relation to well-being, health, education, and government administration. So let's start with the health. Digital technology can improve people's lives by changing how healthcare is delivered and who can access it. For example, the OECD knows that telemedicine or teleconsultations become much more digital after the COVID-19 pandemic. These services can improve access to healthcare, especially for patients who need far from doctors, hospitals, or special services. In this sense, digital health can support both efficiency and equity in healthcare care. This is especially important for low-income countries. In many contexts, healthcare services are very unevenly distributed. Large hospitals in major cities may be overloaded, while rural areas often lack structures, equipment, or functioning health facilities. In such cases, telemedicine can help reduce distance between patients and medical expertise. The second example is the use of autonomous drones in health supply chains. Several African countries drones are being used to deliver food, vaccines, medicines to remote areas. Rwanda is also mentioned as an important case. This line delivers a large share of Rwanda's goods supply outside the capital. Other countries such as Malawi, Senegal, and Madagascar have also utilized autonomous drones to strengthen healthcare provision. The technology that allows people citizens can benefit from the technology as reference generative AI can be used as a second opinion. This does not mean replacing doctors. It means supporting medical judgment, especially capacity is limited. Finally, the digital health system uses large amounts of health data. If the data is well governed, it can help improve diagnosis, monitor health system, support public health decisions, and enable more personalized care. The second paragraph is education. Here, digitalization and AI can support well-being by expanding access to learning and by making education more flexible and more personalized. This is especially important in the context where the school lacks teachers, learning materials, or stable infrastructure. In many low-income countries, education systems face serious challenges. Children may be far from schools, teachers may be absent or overworked. In such contexts, digital tools can help reduce distance and make learning opportunities more widely available. You can offer tutoring in reading, mathematics, language, or help teachers prepare study plans, choose learning materials, and identify where the students need additional support. In many low-income countries, for instance, Global Tutor is an AI-provided powered education platform that offers personalized tutoring in reading and math to children. Aiming to address the shortage of teachers in rural areas, still very mobile and access solution and utilized in some countries. In higher education, AI can also help students engage more actively with course materials. It can also help teachers understand students' progress and provide support earlier. For example, my Hungarian partner in recent pilot study tested an AI tutor that was connected only the lectures connected by the teachers. The students use the tutor to ask questions, clarify concepts, summarize reading, and prepare for the exams. Both students and lecturers reported positive experiences, and the study found strong student engagement. Importantly, this does not mean replacing teachers. It means supporting the relationship between student, teacher, and learning materials. The third area is the public services and government administration. Here, connection between digital transformation, both individual and collective well-being, is important and must grounded in the strong social state contract. The social contract ceremony is set as already in the 17th and 18th century by such great philosophers as Thomas would like to turn the critical point that digital transformation does not, and say that digital transformation does not affect all individuals and communities in the same way, and can also reduce old inequalities in the new forms. Let's mention a few examples. This division became known as line. This view of the proliferation of digital technology knows that even projects innovation theory from 1962. According to Rogers, new technology referring and equity struck by the population. Now, by currently, digital inequalities for the digital divide operate across different levels. The first level of digital divide refers to unequal access to digital technology. The digital divide particularly affects vulnerable segments of the population. For example, low income countries, rural households, while the urban population usually have better internet coverage or better access to services, rural communities face more barriers to digital services. Globally, 85% of urban residents use the internet in 2024, compared to 38% of rural residents. The emergency of more advanced digital technologies, such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and structured computing, create a new set of digital divide. Unlike the earlier divide, the second digital divide is more complex and has a awareness because it combines inequality, access, digital skills, gender, youth, motivation, with broader socioeconomic disadvantages. As decorated, groups often have low digital literacy, limited internet access, and fewer resources to purchase devices or pay transition costs. The third level of digital divide refers to differences in the real life benefits people gain from using digital technology, such as better education, job-related tasks, or social outcomes. When people cannot fully take advantage of digital opportunities, existing inequalities may worse. The algorithm bias is another major risk. All systems are trained on data, and if the data reflects existing inequalities, exclusion, or stereotypes, the system may reproduce them. UNDP defines algorithm bias as systematic errors in AI decision-making and create inacceptable outcomes, deeper disparities, or reinforce discrimination. The WHO review makes a similar point. It has stressed that AI reality depends on better trained data and representatives of different population groups. This is especially important when AI is used in sensitive areas such as healthcare, education, welfare administration, and public services. Fairness, therefore, can be secured through technical fix alone. It is also require attention to social context, structural inequality, and power relationships. The final risk concerns surveillance, privacy, and trust. Digital public system often collects sensitive data about the citizens, patients, students, workers, and communities. The World Bank describes that data as a double-edged sword. It can improve policies and services, but it can also concentrate economic and political power and create misuse. After the implementation of these two contracts and trying to define some framework, if the digital transformation is to contribute to community well-being and sustainable development, it must create public value. By public value, I mean that the system should serve people and communities, not only smart institutions or digital professionals. The question is therefore not simply whether a country becomes more digital, but under what conditions digital transformation extends into real opportunities, strengthens, trust, support, and value. I think at least four conditions that must be met. The first condition is making for access. Access do not only mean that people are connected to the internet. If people cannot understand how to have no access or benefit from the digital system, then the system may increase administrative efficiency without increasing empowerment. The key point is that being connected is not the same as being empowered. The second condition is human capability. Here, sorry, it looks like a video on the left. This is real quick. The second is the second condition is human capacity. Here I refer to Amartya's idea that development means expanding people's efficiency, freedom, which encompasses their capabilities and agency, or in other words, what people actually able to be and do. This perspective happens in why digital transformation cannot be judged only by the availability of tools. The internet was initially understood as a means to expand access to information, communication, education, markets, and public life. In that sense, it could enlarge people's capabilities. But AI changed the situation because it's not only passive tool. It ranks, filters, recommends, predicts, generates, and increasingly acts. The AI-shaped digital world is therefore not something that simply happens to society. It is shaped by human choices about design, governance, access, accountability, and inclusion. Human capability means that people, here I want to underline professionals like teachers, health workers, social workers, public administrators, and community leaders, they need the digital skills, confidence, knowledge, and support to use digital systems meaningfully. This includes from digital citizenship, digital literacy, critical thinking, media literacy, another place, and AI literacy. In education, health and public administration, digital tools can support methods, services, but they cannot replace human being judgment, professional ethics, or local knowledge. Technology does not empower people automatically. Therefore, it is important to ensure that technology strengthens people's agency. The third condition is trustworthy governance. Trustworthy governance includes data protection, transparency, accountability, cybersecurity, ethical oversight, and public participation. This is particularly important when digital systems are used in sensitive areas such as health, education, taxation, and so on. In these areas, digital decisions can affect rights, access to services, and public relationships with the state. But without safeguards, it can also constantly cover, export citizen surveillance, and weaken trust and the social contract, as I mentioned before. Trustworthy governance therefore means that people should know how digital systems affect them, who is responsible for them, and how decisions can question or correct it. Innovation must be accompanied by institutional and government responsibility. Without these, it can reproduce inequality and digital decline. The fourth condition is sustainable infrastructure. Digital transformation depends on material systems, electricity, connectivity, data centers, device maintenance capacity, cybersecurity, priority and long-term public investment. Digital future cannot be sustainable if its foundations are fragile, unequal, or environmentally damaging. This is particularly important in low-income countries and rural contexts, where digital initiatives to benefit must be both the idea and the need, but because the surrounding infrastructure is insufficient. Digital services require reliable electricity, stable internet, secure data systems, skilled maintenance, and institutions can finance and manage systems over time. Without this foundation, digital transformation may remain depending on the short-term projects, external providers, or technologies that cannot be maintained locally. Sustainability also has environmental dimension. AI data systems require energy, compute power, and physical infrastructure. For this reason, digital transformation must be evaluated not only with its social benefits, but also by its environmental and institutional costs. This way, the digital future cannot be called sustainable if its infrastructure is socially, extraordinary, or environmentally damaging. My time is running, so I'm closing. Now I have just a few minutes and I would like to finish with some thoughts that we can take away with us. Believe a changing society, shaped by globalization and digitalization. These forces affect countries differently, but they connect us through many of the same questions. In the global north and the global south, we must ask not only what digital technology can do, but what kind of society it has not built. This is why the future is not simply digital or non-digital. The real question is whether our digital futures will be equitable, human, and sustainable. So the promise of digital transformation is real, but it's not automatic. It depends on the choice we make. Choice about access, capability, governance, structures, and responsibility. And perhaps this is the most important point. Technology does not decide the future by itself. We do. The task before us is therefore not only to adapt to a changing society, but to shape a changing way to strengthen community well-being, sustainability, development, and human flourishing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we're running a little late on time, but I'll ask the presenters so that we have very good engagement. I like the fact that we are the ones who decide the future. Our next speaker is going to be Professor Tamanzi. Do you have slides? So you can put up the slides very quickly. If you want to move to the podium or you want to speak or you want.
Safari inabidi sasa kamwelekeze kabisa ile subiri chini.
what's your next
Mweleze vizuri.
This is the reason why we have to decide how to speak the goals.
Thank you so much. Let me have my extensions. Otherwise, I'm not going to be connected here. So, allow me to become someone else. So, I'm Kamanzi from the University of Namibia. I work with the Economic Studies program, which I actually started at the University of Namibia, and postgraduate from the Masters to now the PhD. So I'm more into economic studies, and as you will hear from my note here, I'm more on the side of deconstructing and constructing. Yeah. That's pretty what I'm doing. As you can see, my title is Sustainable Development in a Shifting World Order. So, the world order is shifting. We need to know about that. And the subtitle is The Colonial Misreading of the Ubuntu Reconstruction of Empowerment and Growth. So I'm going to misread and I'm going to construct. So, distinguished colleagues, scholars, and participants, I would like to thank you for the opportunity given me of this keynote reflection today. This presentation examines sustainable development within the context of a changing global order characterized by geopolitical fragmentation, economic uncertainty, ecological crisis, and growing questions concerning global justice and human well-being. I will introduce to this note what I call the colonial misreading as a methodological approach within development studies and explore how the African philosophy of Ubuntu may contribute to constructing empowerment and well-being under conditions of global interdependence. Let me begin with a simple but powerful observation. A vote in one parliament may change the price of bread in another country. So you vote in Tanzania, the price of bread in Kenya changes. This statement captures the paradox of our contemporary world. Human life has become deeply interconnected globally, yet political authority remains territorial boundary. A geopolitical conflict in one region may affect the fuel prices, food security, death conditions, and livelihoods elsewhere. The people most affected by these consequences often have no participation in the political processes deriving them. This raises a profound question. How can people shape their lives under conditions increasingly determined elsewhere? The central argument of this note is fourfold. First, sustainable development emerged within the institutional and geopolitical architecture of the post-1945 world order, as soon as emerged. Second, the current geopolitical fragmentation increasingly exposes contradictions within that development paradigm. Third, I propose the colonial misreading as a methodological approach for interrogating those conditions. And finally, I argue that Ubuntu offers an important relational reconstruction empowerment and well-being capable of contributing to more plural and ethically grounded development structures. Now, I'll be a little bit genealogical here, just a little bit to Israel to see how this ideal sustainable development came about, and we see its implications. So, sustainable development became globally influential after the Commission, the Buddha Commission of 1987. And in this commission, this idea, the concept of sustainable development, sought to reconcile economic growth, social justice, and environmental sustainability. Those were key. Later, the Sustainable Development Goals institutionalized this framework globally. However, contemporary crises increasingly raise questions. Can sustainable development function effectively within unstable geopolitical conditions? Can it function? And the rules, assumptions about development shape the framework itself. So, can it function effectively? And the rules assumptions. These questions motivate the analysis of the analysis of in this keynote. The post-1945 international order established institutions such as the United Nations, the IMF, and World Bank. These institutions that were established then shaped global governance and development. So they shaped global governance, how we govern ourselves globally, and the development. Development became strongly associated with modernization, industrialization, economic growth, technological advancement, and institutional reform. Yet, these institutions also reflected unequal distributions of global power. Development was therefore never entirely detached from the geopolitics. Sometimes we forget. Development is really from the what going on in terms of organization is entirely attached from geopolitics. A A key contention I make here is that sustainable development operates, therefore, within structurally unequal global systems. Power over finance, technology, military force, trade, and global governance remains unevenly distributed. So we have an uneven distribution. As a result, local well-being often becomes vulnerable to distant geopolitical decisions. And this creates tensions between the universal aspirations of development and the unequal realities of global power. Sorry, thank you. Now, critical traditions within the development studies have long highlighted these inequalities. For instance, the dependency theory argues that underdevelopment was structurally unequal global economic relations. You know that. The world systems theory has always emphasized hierarchical relations between the core, the semi-peripheral, and peripheral economies. We also know that. Now, currently, the so-called colonial scholars extend these critiques by introducing the concept of coloniality of power, showing how colonial hierarchies continue within contemporary systems of knowledge and governance. Now, let me a little bit introduce this idea of colonialism. What do I mean by it? In this note, the colonial misreading is a methodological approach. It does not simply reject the dominant discourse. No, we don't reject, I don't reject the dominant discourse. Rather, it interrogates how development narratives are constructed. How are they constructed? Whose perspectives shape these narratives, and what contradictions they conceal. So it's just a methodology we use to unravel the development discourse. How development narratives are the out are development narratives constructed, whose perspectives shape them, and what contradictions they conceal. Therefore, it reads the methodology, reads the development discourse against its own universal claims. This methodological approach draws from several intellectual traditions. From Gadamer, Hans Gadamer, who deals with interpretation, interpretation is historically situate. Interpretation is historically situated. From Foucault, we learn that knowledge and power are interconnected. From Said and Spivak, we also learn that dominant narratives often marginalize subaltern perspectives. And from the colonial scholars such as Kiano and Nyolo, modern systems of knowledge continue reproducing colonial hierarchies. Now, these traditions collectively inform this decolonial misreading methodology, whereby, as I said, the key is to try to understand how the narratives are constructed, whose perspectives shape them, and what contradictions they conceal. The colonial misreading operates through three analytical movements. The first one is it situates development discourse historically and institutionally. So, situation of development discourse first, historical and institutional. Second, it identifies contradictions and silences within the dominant narrative. And thirdly, it opens Importantly, therefore, this is not a critical method. It's not only critical, it is as well constructive. So we'll do the criticism and we'll construct as well. Now let me come to this concept of the geopolitical fragmentation I talked about. We are currently witnessing major transformations within the global order. These include the rising multipolarity, geopolitical rivalry, sanction regimes, technological competition, and even strategic nationalism. These are kind of fragmentation, so to speak, that we are currently witnessing. These assumptions underlie the assumptions, and with these fragmentations, there is a challenge to the assumptions underlying the liberal polarization. Development now unfolds within conditions of uncertainty rather than certainty. We are uncertain about what is next. Nobody knows for sure what is coming. Geopolitical instability generates economic vulnerability globally. Wars, for instance, affect energy markets, food systems, inflation, debt conditions, and supply chains. Communities geographically distant from conflict zones still experience major economic consequences. I don't know how far we are from Iran, but I think they are feeling very hot here. This demonstrates that local well-being is deeply entangled within global systems. One of the most important ethical questions now emerging from this analysis concerns democracy and the global interdependence. Political decisions taken within one country may affect millions elsewhere. Yet, those affected populations frequently have no participation in those decisions. This reveals what I describe as a global democratic deficit. The scale of social consequences increasingly exceeds the scale of political accountability. The scale of social consequences increasingly exceeds the scale of political accountability. Now, I'm going to shift to this concept of Ubuntu and try to connect everything together. Now, in my opinion, Ubuntu offers an important philosophical intervention. Ubuntu teaches, we have this famous action here, a person is a person through a person. No? Human existence, at the end of the day, what it means, human existence is fundamentally relational. Personhood is not isolated individual existence. It emerges through relationships. This has got profound implications because it shifts attention from isolated economic indicators toward relational well-being. Ubuntu also provides an ethical framework emphasizing solidarity, dignity, reciprocity, mutual care, and the communal flourishing. This challenges hyper-individualistic development models focused primarily on competition and accumulation. Ubuntu reframes development as a relational and an ethical project. Ubuntu contributes to reconstructing development thinking itself. Development becomes more than GDP growth or technocratic governance. Instead, development concerns now the equality of relationships, communal well-being, social cohesion, and the ethical coexistence. Ubuntu therefore introduces relational responsibility into the development discourse. application of this note is the need, therefore, for a epistemic plurality within the development studies. No single civilization or intellectual tradition possesses a monopoly over development knowledge. Plurality. Ubuntu contributes to decolonizing development by expanding the epistemological foundations of the field. Development futures must become more plural, more dialogical, and more ethical. Now, let me summarize with this slide how I've been moving with my notes. So, the post-1945 order shaped sustainable development discourse. The colonialist reading exposes the contradictions within that paradigm, and Ubuntu then provides a constructive relational reconstruction. The result is what I described as a relational development paradigm grounded in interconnected with well-being. Now, I think I'm towards my conclusion. So, as I conclude, I think sustainable development now requires ethical transformation. It requires epistemological transformation, and it requires relational reconstruction. Development cannot survive merely as a technocratic vocabulary detached from geopolitical realities. Human well-being is globally interconnected, and development must increasingly be reimagined relationally. And I would like to leave you with a food for thought, to a reflection on what I just give as a sentence. I think it's over there. The challenge before us is not simply to develop the world we inherited. It's not simply to develop the world we inherited, but to cultivate the humanity through which we may yet relate together. So it's not the challenge we have, in these geopolitical changes. The challenge before is not simply to develop the world we inherited, no, but to cultivate the humanity through which we may yet relate together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for saving us some time. I'm going to ask the next presenters as we come up, just so that we can come back to the schedule. I'll ask them to keep our reflections and contributions to at least 20 minutes, and I'll keep tapping you when I feel that you're close to 5 minutes. We're going to share. So for questions, answers, questions and comments, we have a link that has been shared. It will be quickly projected on the screen so that please, as we listen to the reflections and the presentations, we can already start to share the questions that we may have so that we can collect them for the panel session. Can we quickly share the link so that people can see it? Just so you know, we are live on YouTube. So inaonekana tusilale. Yeah, it's very important to sit properly. If you want to have a nice face drop, head drop, have a good. Our next presenter, and please put up his slide so that we save time, is going to be Professor Viola from the University of Barcelona, who will be talking to us on the role of artificial intelligence in advancing people's well-being and community development. Okay, so the link, if you can just quickly take 1 minute or 30 seconds to scan with your phone, smartphone, with the Simujanga, please scan that code and you will get access to the link. understand that. I see phones coming up. Are we all okay? Someone has been there before you. This work? Okay. And we move to the presentation. The presentation is the one entitled The Role of Artificial Intelligence in Advancing People's Wellbeing and Community Development. I think you can take down the link now. Not that one. That's not the one. So Professor, 20 minutes, please.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm very glad to be. I really feel happy. I see my colleagues here, I see my students here, and it's always amazing the nature of the chance to continue sharing this insight. There are people from Marifa here, Africa Research Institute for AI, my colleagues. It's a well-divided community. It's from the University of Dar es Salaam. Thank you. And we are saying on your behalf because we talk a lot about AI. Thank you, Institute of Social Work. We really have been thought about organizing this event. It's a wonderful platform. I know it's the first one, and I can only wish that it will recur, if it's possible, annually. Why? Because the objective is something that has not been happening in the past. People are shying away to discuss, to talk. And the result is people stay with whatever they know within themselves, and in this way, the well-being becomes internalized and actually shared. So again, as I look around in this hall, I really see people are just characterized as change makers. And my presentation is a topic so sensitive sometimes, especially to young people. To those of like me, maybe we don't worry much. But when you say AI, Akilunde, remember, some people grow hair, it gets scared. But I can listen this few minutes without quiet and hopefully make you desire to join the AI. AI is being perceived, thank you, Professor Mark. I already have had a big presentation of how a user sees AI. I hope I can bridge that talk to how the tech see AI. Okay? And then hopefully you will see that when we talk of AI, it's intelligence, actually it's shared intelligence. I will use an arithmetic arrangement, but let it happen. 50% is within what we call the network, and the 50% is with you, the user. And so the network cannot command everything. In fact, you talked about internet, that each time you connect your device, internet expands. That's why you can share internet. But now, internet has become a service. It's no longer just a network. The network today is what we call the broadband network. Now, how big is the opportunity we call AI? I think so big. It's so big. And this is happening at the speed of light, while it's created at the speed of your thought. Okay? Again, this is being shared at the speed of light and is created at the speed of how you think. If you want to imagine what that means, think of yourself, you have 20 million from us, each of us sends you one SMS with 1,000 shillings in 1 second to the network, and here's how much money you make in 1 second. That's 20 billion. So it's not a joke. That power is massive. And that's what AI is bringing to impact the well-being of our people. And a company called the PwC estimates the numbers are kind of terrifying. $15.7 trillion US dollars in 2030. That's the value that is hidden within the AI agenda. Now the challenge is, as Africans, are we ready to participate in this opportunity, or at best just compute? Africa contributes about 17% already in terms of population. Let me tell you, when it comes to really playing the conversation, we're only hosting about 1% of what AI is all about, and that means we are not there. If you want to talk about how AI impacts the well-being of our people, we have to think about a little outside the box, actually, almost like there's no box. Because if you're only contributing 1%, we should not be limited by what you already know. Okay? So, technology by itself changes nothing. Believe me, technology changes nothing. So what changes? You and me, the people. So, talking about well-being is amazing. Now, what does AI eventually impact? Your intention. You're talking of inclusion, AI will accelerate it. If you're talking of your health services, AI will scale and accelerate it. If you're talking of sustainability, AI can accelerate it. So, it's the people that actually will determine how we deploy AI. And so, one more time, if technology is not the issue, it's the people. How do people govern themselves? You realize it's a challenge to leadership. I usually say we go beyond just being a leader. So I see viongozi too. I want to see unamaanisha kuwa viongozi. I want the intentionality in you. If there is no intentionality, AI will be so scary. Because it's like having that cold water and you want to take a bath and you're putting a little finger and saying it's cold and you're not getting it. They say once you get in, it gets warm. Amazing. So my challenge is that to my colleagues here, if you're talking of well-being, the opportunity is so massive that you have to be intentional. And I believe Institute of Social Work, suddenly you are intentional for starting this workshop. Believe me, and I intend to show that you're already intentional. So, I have a personal story and how we came about in Tanzania, for example, and Africa. Some of us have been there when Africa was just warming up to the agenda of broadband. Okay? Professor, you talked about what is missing. Okay? That's ICT. When it's not working, you're in trouble. The professor had a nice slide on this. I just found myself summarizing. You can't have ICT and ignore the ability to allow you to interact. When you operate the speed of light, geography dies. There's no distance. Hope you understand. So, and we used to go to buy books on a long collecting desert. But today, you wake up in the middle of the night, you can buy look. That means the permanent availability nature of ICT is already impacted. Now we are going to build the AI on top of all this. the global reach, geography is there. So we are here, you see, this is live stream. So if you're in New York, or you're in Hong Kong, in Beijing, you are participating, okay? And the transaction costs are really low. In fact, in the network operators, we call legacy services. An SMS costs less than 2 cents shillings. But when you go to transact, if you use it to transact, it costs more. It means the value creation has changed. Okay? So, what we really say, are we ready? Are we ready? Now, a little story. We designed something to solve this. Professor here has a nice presentation. These challenges. If you don't solve this, you can't use AI. AI is a technology that needs power. It's an ICT service. So you need the devices to be powered. If they are not powered, AI won't function. And yes, it all depends on the garbage in, garbage out. AI is even more sensitive on that. It doesn't give you time. But I have a proposal here. AI doesn't take out your heart. It only amplifies your head. Think about it. Okay? So, when we are designing the backbone in our country, Tanzania, you should develop really big to yourself. This is the reality. It happened in 2000 and from 2008 to 2013, and now it's expanding. This is the digital labor system where the AI flows. And gladly, Tanzania has it. Now, why is it important to tell you this is important? Infrastructure precedes transformation. We heard of transformation. If the infrastructure is not there, you won't work. I usually have a saying, you may be so huge, your body, but if the blood is not circulating, you're dead. Hello? So the nervous system must function. The same with AI. Okay? And if that is the case, when we are designing this one expert challenge that we had dimension, it's so big, it was like building a Concorde with one seat. Some of you will Google what Concorde is. The supersonic airplane that ever designed, and I think it's been commissioned. It's so risky. And with one seat, and we were so generous, and Tanzania are always generous. You know. We share freedom, and we say we are ready to share abundance. So we say, yes, the Concorde is one seat. We'll invite our neighbors to come and join us with their seats. And this is what is happening. This backbone is powering all our neighboring countries. Actually, you call them landlords. We don't call them like that. They're empowered. That's well-being. Okay? So, how does AI impact us? We want AI to be a welcome agenda in whatever we do. Now, the problem is, it became like a scary story to take our jobs, to bring what we call the secret society agenda and all that. And then we ignore that. Okay, if you don't lay time, you will find it somewhere where you're going. You understand what I mean? Unakimbia kivuli chako. It's following you. You don't want it, but it's there. So my challenge now is just as roads enable transportation and electricity enables industrialization. Digital infrastructure enables artificial intelligence. I want that to see so you can appreciate how ready we are. Okay? And then now this machine, this infrastructure is working at around, I think, 400 gigabits per second capacity. Each single link you can connect. It's massive. Okay? Now, for human well-being, thank you. I already know. There is health, universal learning, education, employment, agriculture, national competitiveness, so many. I will not do all of this. And of course, inclusion, governance. Let me put it this way. The success of deploying AI, honestly, only if it 3 cases I would like to identify. Just to emphasize, in healthcare, we already have the bigger picture. What can I do? We heard of telemedicine. To understand that properly, look at the referral system in the health sector. Initially, the patient goes to the hospital, or the doctor from hospital goes to the patient. That's the referral system. Imagine it traveling from Ananyamala through telemetry, and then it's cut. You will lose life there before you get to Mumbai, right? It's not a good record. Then we went into telemedicine. It happened like this. The information about the patient will go to the expert, to the doctor, or the expertise of the doctor will go to the patient. Are you with me? What does AI do? You see, these are still physical. You're flying doctors and all that, but AI will digitalize it and digitize you. So the doctor, you don't have to go, but somehow your expertise will go in a chatbot or in a computer. And so I can multiply you. AI can multiply. So instead of you single doctor, we'll have 1,000 doctors doing exactly the same, given the data given. So that's the power of health. Now, when that happens, diagnostics or prognostics have become so good. In TB, accuracy is 94%. If AI comes to tell you that it or you know. For malaria, 90% precision. If you give it to the sample, it will tell you have it or you don't. And this is something that the clinical officer can manage, not an expert. So, and you don't need to wait. That's the power of AI in health. So we believe this is already accredited, it's already approved, it's already been financed, and it's a massive investment. Okay? The WHO are supporting this, and actually shortages of doctors is being solved. If we go to education percent, how many of our kids out there are still missing the education opportunity? Many. But the AI, it will really create a classroom because the brick and mortar is dead. AI brings the class in front of your device. You see this screen here? The guys out there, they're not here, but they are participants. That's a digitalized conference room. That's power. And even like that, UNESCO says this is the only way to go. So where before you would build so many schools, now you need many of things. Faster. Well-being is achieved. If we go to agriculture, even the same. Because having lost so many, AI can help to reduce all that. So, for Africa, because of time, we really don't need to replicate the Silicon Valley. When I was studying electrical engineering and all this stuff, I thought I needed a big office to practice. Because I realized my bedroom was all I needed to start practice. For the developers, they know what I'm talking about. Nowadays, they say they call it hot chair. You might just need a chair, a table, and a big coffee mug. That's it. You can be working, paying your abroad. Yeah? So, AI already can be adopted to improve the well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, my interest here was to inspire you and not to fear AI. Okay? I know some of you are worried you may lose your job. Don't worry. However, delivering this, the African Union guides us. We have to go for the responsible thing. So like a knife, you can use to kill, you can use to abuse, or you can go to the kitchen and prepare good meal. Yeah? So, it's intelligence, it's not your heart. Remember this. It's just the ethical. AI has the ability to include everybody. I usually say that if you want to visit the state house, you need a protocol. You can, Mama, unaandika barua, you write it, and you need to wait maybe 6 months. But the AI, as I ICT, an email. You can be hiding in the bush and still you can send an email. It doesn't see borders, it doesn't see gates. But AI is more powerful than that. Let me say it this way. So, it is critical to teach our people to learn AI. Because it's so empowering. Now I have a way for it. If you are scared, Africa doesn't have to build what the others did. There are two frameworks I want to use, ladies and gentlemen, to inspire to get prepared. We can leapfrog. We all know how the frog jumps, right? We can leapfrog. In fact, when we were worried, things were happening. Okay? I don't have a computer, and all of a sudden the computer is right on your hand. You all agree? You didn't have to worry of having a computer. Now, the two frameworks I want to share with you. One is the leapfrog framework, and the other one is the leopard. Now, AI is multiplying this. Now, let's see. I can leapfrog in an education. I don't need to build a laboratory. AI can give you a simulation software. You can learn. In fact, in a high-tech industry, I can give you a Boeing 787 to fly to learn. That's a $20 billion machine. You can't toy with it. Right? And so I give you the software, play with it until you are sure what you are doing. It's a gaming industry. Then I can give you the release. That's education. It's well-being. And it doesn't choose. Bruno, Ahmed, you all have pick up with it. Okay? And the books. I don't have money to buy books. Sure. A little device, the reader can carry 600 books. That's a new program. Okay? Money. How many people really ever visited a bank? In our time, we know the story. Now, everybody can have an account, even if you've never visited a bank. That's a new problem. The connectivity to remember the landline, I worked in TTCL for 10 years, it will cost you $2,000 to get connected and you have to wait maybe 6 months. But today, the SIM card is free and it takes less than a minute to get connected. That's the problem. What am I saying with all this? Same way of transferring money. What I'm saying, AI is multiplying this exceedingly fast. So, you want to transfer money to money? Yes, that's well-being. You want to pay for a commodity fast, not waste time? It's well-being. Okay? Yes, I am. Technology is failing me. I am an IT guy. Hello? Now the last one. I was told that 30 minutes, so you're not generous. And I have a story. I'm a storyteller. And my students know. I want you to remember things. You said that the guy, I grew up in the bush. In one way is to appreciate the leopard doesn't need to and error. You want to understand AI properly, how to deploy it, when to deploy it, what to deploy it, look where it's how the leopard thinks and works. And I figure this has to play this. You see this guy, I just wanted to memorize that. That's AI. Okay? With AI, you know, learn, monitor, compute, calculate, and then get prepared. Don't waste energy unnecessarily. Then when the right time, you read. That's how I teach AI. The people like you and me were there when that. Don't be scared of AI. It demands you to monitor, to learn, and to actually prepare. Okay? If you don't prepare, you'll act in panic. And when you panic, your decisions are incomplete. Simple. So, since our facilitator, once we close this story, we'll find another time. Future belongs to nations that think like the leopard.
We didn't see the leopard leap.
Yeah, and let it first to get out of the law. So if we are to go AI, institute, social work, prepare. And to prepare, it means build the infrastructure. Now, we call it the foundation. I like this guy shared this story on LinkedIn, that you can build the AI on the wrong foundation, you collapse. Gladly for a country we already have a backbone to build the AI on it. Okay? And so, to improve well-being of the people, AI can play a role, is playing a role already. It's for us all to liberate it and build on that. Efforts are already massive. Improve healthcare, transform education. And I don't know how to say this, but it is happening so fast. I just hope the AI agenda, as we heard it from actually two presentation already, is that Ubuntu, you are because we are, I like it. Internet value is only shared. AI wants you to share. Then you will create massive value out of that. Enough for today. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. I'll ask us all to stand because our next presenter is going to be online. We have shared our link for questions, and I'm told the questions are coming in. Maybe we want to stand up. Some of us have shy minds and we want to get rid of it. 5 minutes. 5-minute break, literally 5 minutes while we connect our online speakers who are listening. So you need to stretch, you need to quickly straighten your jacket. I think this move outside to my right? We will start in 5 minutes. We really want to be part of this brief session of the conversation. You can also just stand and stretch in your same place if you've got nowhere to go. Dakika tano sasa hivi saa tano na dakika 14 immediately saa tano na dakika 20
He's streaming because project hapa, project kazi yake. Hello. Huyo amekuja. Sio yeye. Huyu anaona anahisi kama ndio yeye, kwa hiyo poteza naye. Unaona akashaanza kushare. huyu anaanza kupresent. Naona. Oh. Okay. It is not your time, please. It is not your time. It is not your time. It is not your time. Yes, it is not your time until we finish two presenters. Yeah, then we'll follow. Yeah, it is not. Yeah. Yeah, it is okay. It is okay. Just wait. Just wait. We'll be inviting you soon. Okay, sir. Okay. Ah, jamaa amezima sauti hapo. Sasa mruhusu jamaa sasa. Eh? Nani? Jamani, kuna saa ngapi? Tuendelee kwanza tumalize hawa wengine ndio tutafuata. Sasa huyu mshampata? Okay, no problem. No. Yes, it's working. Okay, it's working. You can see the slides, even the slides moving. Yes, but it's not your time right now. Never mind. I'm here. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Nadhani maswali tunayaona pia. Watu wakiuliza maswali mengi sasa tunayaona mengine. Ya hata yaona, wewe ndio unayaona pia. Sawa. Sasa tumjaribu Profesa Emmanuel sasa. Mwambie aanze ajaribu kuongea tuone. Sauti hapa haija ndani. Sio. Oya. Tunajaribu sauti ya kuja ndani huko haiji. Sijaona ilikubali. Sijaona asubuhi. Ndo tunashangaa sasa. Mic test.
Mruhusu output ya nani? Mruhusu output ya kutoka kwenye
kama baada ya
wewe si yeye hapo.
Sasa huko ndani sisi hatumsikii.
Nani anaongea?
Huyo ndugu yako.
Wanamsikia huko wengine? Sasa tunafanyaje?
Ndio tunaweka sasa mambo sawa.
Mtusaidie. Kwenye mix. Nafikiri ni huko inabidi sauti inabidi itoke kwenye speaker za kumbili.
Daktari, anaendelea kwanza kuonyesha.
Sawa. Tunarudi sasa hivi. Ndio. Nipo kwenye meeting. Niandikie ujumbe. Kwa jamaa kirudi itakuwaje?
Can we take our seats and we please come back into stage down
Sauti ipo. Sasa inabidi itoke huko. Wewe sikiliza hapo. Anaongea. Sauti ipo. Ndio.
Okay. Let's try to contact people.
Anaweza kaanza kama tayari sasa mtu ambaye anahusiana
I think now we can see the meeting, right?
yes, ndio yeye mwambie yes. Sio anaongea mwenye mic yake mwambie.
And I cannot see the meetings. I'm leaving. I'm joining.
Okay.
Akampiga dada.
Professor Chukwuemeka, can you test your microphone so that we can hear you? You can hear us? Okay, good. We can hear you as well. Loud and clear. We're about to start. I'm going to ask my panelists to come back into the room. Professor Kamanzi, Professor Yoha, and Dr. Panel is empty without the panelists. Yeah, Bell, yeah, it's open. Not that I said it was Can we start? Back to the room? In the interest of time, because now it is 24 past, I'm giving you an extra 4 minutes. So we are going to now listen to Professor Emeka, who is online, and he will share with us the organizational restructuring, diagnosing problems and advancing solutions for people's empowerment and equity. Professor Chukwuemeka, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much. And I said I'm Professor Chukwuemeka, Professor of Development Studies and Public Administration, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Nigeria. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Professor, and we gave your brief introduction when we were introducing the panel. So you can go straight to the presentation, and because we're a little late on time, I'll ask you to try maybe 20 to 25 minutes, please. Thank you.
So actually, we shared the discourse into about 5 sections. The first section we are going to look at team building. In the second, we are going to look at leadership and structuring. Then the third one, we are going to look at capacity building. And the fourth one, employee empowerment. And the fifth one, which is the last one, we are going to look at nexus between automation and restructuring. So we may have to start by looking at the first, which is the restructuring. So automation is restructuring. Another part, and I was like, involved in the process of joining a group of employees into a cohesive corporate spirit. So now, when we look at team, I try to make an acronym out of the team and to explain the four letter acronym. I say number one is together. T for together, and E for everyone, A, achieve, and M, more. So the implication together, everyone achieve more. So that's on slide 2, so you can move to slide 3. Then we now start characteristics of team process. For a team to work successfully, then there must be common goals. And when we talk about common goals, the team must have to pursue common goals. And the essence of pursuing common goals is to ensure that connection. A team must be interdependent, and for a team to be interdependent, the team must rely on each other to get work done. They don't break that connection. The team must have common operating procedure. And operating procedure implies legal rules and legal procedures to tackle issues facing the team. The team must be accountable. And when we say the team must be accountable, members should be held responsible for producing specific outputs. Then, however, the next slide, the team, but in every team you must find common problems. And these common problems we have decided to look at them. Number one, unclear goals. When a team is not setting on the goals that the team, there will be confusion there. So they must have common goals and goals properly defined. So when the team are divided, the team members are divided, the other group pursue their own goal and the other group pursue its own goal, then it becomes problem for the team. Now, with no commitment, in most cases you see that members of the team, some of them may have no commitment. They are not committed to achieving results. Because the problem, there is some understanding of jobs and rules. Some don't understand the roles they need to play to ensure the success of the organization. And furthermore, failure to utilize team member talents. Every team member has peculiar talents, and it's very imperative that the peculiar talents must be properly utilized to achieve results. And guided communication that is not properly defined, the failure to share information, because information is power. The team members be able to share information. The information they can work. Then, committing when the team fails to meet properly and define their operating procedure, it becomes a problem. Then, finally, one person decision. Any team that depends on one person's decision is a very big problem. So they must have to work together, like I said, to get that everyone achievable. Then the next slide is conflict within the team. So in most cases, conflicts can arrive within the team, and if conflict arises within the team, it can tear the team apart. Then you can move to the next slide and see this is the old slide. Then amount of time to make decisions. So the team must devote enough time to make decisions. There's no confidence in others. Some people always suspect their brother. So when there is no confidence, it becomes a big problem for the team. And criticism and complaining. In most cases, you see that employees, many of them complain a lot and criticize one another, and that doesn't want to show, it doesn't actually, it's not helpful for organizational survival. Then this is some groups. You see, in most cases, you see that the team, the team within the team, and lots of groups pursue some personal interests, which may not be healthy for the team. Then we also look at conference of good team process. Conference of good team process. Now, clarity in team goals. The team goals must be very clear, so that everybody will understand the goal they are achieving. Clearly defined rules. The roles must be properly defined, so that everyone will understand the role he or she has to play at every point in time. The clear communication must be very clear. You don't know, oftentimes we say we are communicated, in the actual sense, we are not communicated. Because if it's not understood, we are not communicated. Then when you find decision procedure, they must have to identify the decision procedure and it must properly defined for everybody to understand it. Establish ground rules. The ground rules will be set out and balanced participation. Every member of the team must participate equally. And the interplay between leadership and next section. The leadership in restructuring. Restructuring cannot do without leadership. After all, the people who grant leadership is restructuring is leadership. So, and leaders, as a matter of fact, was actively listen, validate employees' consent, and address grief or fear, especially when it has to do with job security, mitigating the negative effects of change. Then leaders must define expectations and rules quickly, as a matter of fact, offering targeted coaching and support to maintain service delivery. Now we have to look at basic leadership values needed when restructuring. And when restructuring, the leader must have to appreciate the priest. A leader who is like a priest. And when I say a leader who is like a priest, the priest stands in the gap for his people. And the priest, the members of the congregation legislature, the priest is offering and praying, interceding for the members of the group or members of his congregation. A leader should be the same, behave the same. So as a priest, the leader must always stand in the gap for his people. The leader is to be like a minister. And when I talk about minister, it's ministry. Administrative service, rendering service. The leader who has integrity. And when I say a leader who has integrity, a leader who is walking the moral path should be above the leader sufficient. That's why is above sufficient. The leader who is like a leader who is like a mother. And when I say mother, you know, for example.
I'm sorry, we're having some technical challenges on the side of the meeting.
Allergy.
People are working on it. Yeah. I think you are not.
Professor Chukwemeka, we lost you for a minute. So
Okay,
we can hear you now. Yes. You were, I think we lost you when you started to say dealing is like a butler.
But it's okay. A leader is modern must be the type of leader who have to live by example. You what he must try to ensure that what he says we need to do is what he is doing. And what he says that he is doing is what the people also will do. So the people should be able to emulate him. The leader who is mature, and when I talk about maturity, maturity in thought and action is not for mental or physical progress. Leader who understands that leadership is partnership. And when I talk about partnership, partnership with God and partnership with man. It's not for no rangers, it's not on its own. And leaders who should understand that leadership comes first with prize before prize. And in most cases, the prize will not come during the leader's lifetime. The leader must have to pay the price. Because it's not, he must have to pay the price in order to get the prize. Now, we look at the confidence of this, we look at the empowerment, employee empowerment. We look at the employee empowerment, which is the next component of our discourse. And when we look at the employee empowerment, empowerment is very vital when we structure it. Empowerment is very vital when we structure it. And the empowerment, as I said, has many components, and it gives autonomy and initiative for the employees. And we now have to look at types of individual empowerment. Individual empowerment, and when we talk about individual empowerment, the individual must get over his control of his life. The individual must get over control of his life. Then also, also we look at gender empowerment. So the female gender the female gender must be that is it. Then we now look at employee empowerment. Then we have different ways the employee can be empowered. We have different ways the employee can be empowered. We have social empowerment. And when we talk about social empowerment, giving employees more control over their lives in the organization. We look at education empowerment, equipping employees with knowledge and skills. We look at political empowerment. The employees are marginalized groups gain the capacity, confidence, and the opportunities to participate effectively.
Professor Emeka, can you hear us? Professor Chukwemeka, can you hear us? Yes, we can hear you. Are we on the correct slide or should we move forward from?
So when we talk about the every empowerment, we look at the physical empowerment, then in that line, we can see the different types of exercise you are also able to have control, have the opportunity to exercise and part of empowerment. Part of empowerment. Then we can move, we already on the operate on slide 15, already on slide 15. Then we now, we now look at pillars of physical empowerment. Confidence of physical empowerment. Yeah, physical autonomy and health. Movements and strength training, self-defense, and personal safety. So these are confidence of physical empowerment. Confidence of physical empowerment. Then we now look at automation and restructuring. So when we look at automation, we are not showing that we look at automation. And automation involves integrating technologies like AI and no-code tools for streamlined workflow while reorganizing business operations to improve agility. Then in core components, we have process automation, utilizing tools like UBAT or behavior to eliminate redundant tasks, reduce human error, and accelerate service delivery and productivity. Then we have another component, structural reorganization, changing the critical sectors, downsizing or down scoping to boost a technical level workflow, reducing operations cycles, and making organization more agile. Then if you look at we have listen to five, which is job loss resulting from automation. Then finally we have the last word. Organizational restructuring is one of the most challenging periods for any organization, whether public or private organization. It is therefore imperative that the leadership is mindful of this and ensure the deployment of all the factors that we have initiated and interrogated here to create through efficient and positive restructuring outcomes. So on this note, I say thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much. We'll ask you just to stay online because we will be having a round of questions following the next two presentations. So our next presenter is also online virtually, and I think she should be ready. Professor Jacob, are you with us?
Thank you. I am with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you going to share your slides?
Yes, I'm doing that.
Okay, please go ahead. We did do an introduction on your bio before, so if you could just go straight to the presentation.
I've heard it, please. I'm absolutely impressed. Thank you. I'm just checking whether you can see my share screen.
Yes. I think it is
coming up.
Yeah, now we go.
Okay, thank you. Before I begin, I would like to thank the organizers for the kind invitation and for the remarkable work that has gone into organizing this conference. I hope you can hear me before so big and so impressive. Launching the first edition of the conference is never easy. I know that. It takes determination, enthusiasm, and the belief that needed for the academic dialogue.
For those of us who are online, can we use some microphones here? Continue, please.
Thank you. So launching the first edition of Congress is not easy. Because it takes determination, enthusiasm, and the belief that meaningful academic dialogue can contribute positive change, as we have heard in all the speeches before. And I would like therefore to congratulate everyone involved in bringing this initiative to life. I would especially like to express my sincere appreciation to Professor Carmona for his outstanding leadership, commitment, and support throughout the preparation of this event. His efforts have played a key role in turning this initiative into reality, even including myself and my presence. I'm truly delighted to be here, and I feel privileged. Please be assured that you can count on my support in future as well. I sincerely hope that this conference will continue to grow and strengthen academic cooperation across our countries. And before turning to my topic, I would like to make a personal remark, which I find very important. I have given great respect for Tanzania. I have also loved your national anthem, for its people, and for the remarkable social and economic development taking place across the country and the wider African continent. And at the same time, I am fully aware that I am not the person who can tell Tanzanians what Africa is or what Africa should become. The experiences, aspirations, and realities of African societies are best understood by you, by those who live them every day. My role here today is much more modest and humble. I have come here to engage in dialogue about how law can contribute to protecting human dignity, decent work, and social justice in a world where labor and people are increasingly mobile. I offer these reflections with humility and with a genuine willingness to learn from your experiences and insights. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, migration has always been part of human history. People have moved across regions and continents in search of security, opportunity, and a better future. Yet the scale and structure of migration today reflect a deeper transformation of the global economy and of labor markets. According to the United Nations, more than 300 million people currently live outside the country in which they were born, representing approximately 3.7% of the global population. Over the past 3 decades, the number of international migrants has more than doubled. Migration is therefore no longer a marginal phenomenon. It is a structural feature of globalization and of contemporary labor markets. However, my key message is that migration is not simply a movement of people. It is a movement of labor, rights, expectations, and inequalities across borders. To understand the dynamics of migration today, we must look at the broader global context in which labor markets operate. One of the most powerful drivers of migration today is demographic change. Across much of Europe, North America, and parts of East Asia, populations are aging rapidly, and the working age population in many countries is shrinking. But at the same time, other regions of the world are experiencing very different demographic trajectories. Africa, your continent in particular, is undergoing a major population expansion, as we have seen also in the previous speech. The population of the continent is projected to reach around 2.5 billion by 2050, all very intelligent, as I see, so it's a great opportunity for us. So this means that by the middle of the country, roughly 1/4 of the world's population will live in North continent. This demographic divergence has profound implications for global labor markets. While some regions face labor shortages and aging populations, others have rapidly expanding young populations entering into the labor force. This leads to a crucial observation. This is also a key message. The question is no longer whether migration will shape the future of labor markets. The real question is
Professor Jacob, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Let's try and fix.
you cannot hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we can hear you now. Continue. Maybe you just, we lost at least 2 sentences or so.
The question is no longer whether migration will shape the future of the labor markets. The real question is whether law and institutions can shape migration in a fair and sustainable way. And from the perspective of the global South, migration is something else entirely. A strategy for survival, development, and mobility. And what do I mean under this? First, this perspective becomes particularly important when we look at Africa's demographic transformation. Africa is often portrayed in a migration debate as a source of migration pressures. And such a perspective overlooks one of the most important economic developments of the 21st century, that Africa, as we have seen, has the youngest population in the world. And this is not merely a demographic trend, it represents an extraordinary economic opportunity for you. A young and growing workforce can become a powerful driver of innovation, entrepreneurship, productivity, and long-term economic growth. The real question, therefore, is not whether Africa has sufficient human capital. The continent's greatest asset is precisely its people, you in the room. And the challenge is whether economic institutions, labor markets, and social policies can create the appropriate pathways through which this potential can be realized. Recent field research by the Economic Commission for Africa in Ethiopia illustrates this challenge. Young people repeatedly emphasize that they possess ideas, ambition, and entrepreneurial aspirations, but often lack access to finance, markets, and quality employment opportunities. And the issue is therefore not simply employment, it is the gap between potential and opportunity. And for labor law and social law policy, this observation is particularly significant. If labor markets are capable of transforming demographic growth into decent work, entrepreneurship, and social mobility, Africa's youth bloom could become one of the greatest development success stories of our time. If not, labor mobility and migration will increasingly become rational responses to the search for opportunity somewhere else. Migration, therefore, should not be understood merely as a consequence of poverty or crisis. In many cases, it reflects the aspirations of the young people seeking education, employment, and entrepreneurship. It is often the result of the mismatch between demographic potential and economic opportunity. Therefore, from this perspective, migration is not the opposite of development. Migration is something as entirely, as I said, strategy for survival, development, and mobility. Tanzania provides an illustrative example of this reality. Research shows that when Tanzanians consider migration, their primary motivations are employment, poverty reduction, and better business opportunities. And among these considering migration, 34% identify employment as their main reason for moving, while 29% seek to escape poverty and economic insecurity. And these findings remind us that migration is rarely driven by a single factor. It is not merely a response to hardship. It reflects the aspirations of individuals seeking security and greater opportunities. And Tanzania offers an instructive example of the broader African migration reality. It is simultaneously a country of immigration, emigration, and internal mobility, as I have seen on the internet and the literature. Most importantly, migration is closely linked to labor market opportunities. This demonstrates that migration is not merely a response to crisis, it is really a response to aspiration. And the real question is, how labor markets and social protection system can support these people, whether they stay or move within Africa or migrate beyond it. And Tanzania is often discussed as a country of emigration. However, it is also one of Africa's major destination countries. In 2020, more than 426,000 international migrants were living in Tanzania, most of them originating from Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo. So Tanzania therefore illustrates an important reality of the African migration as well. Regional economic integration has also transformed labor mobility. Within the East African community, increasing economic cooperation has encouraged both skilled and unskilled workers to move across borders. And your country attracts entrepreneurs, engineers, financial professionals. So it is really about seeking opportunity even in your country. It is about transforming human potential into social and economic mobility. And that is why, from the perspective of the Global South, migration is often not a problem to be solved, but the message is it is a strategy for development. Migration also has important economic consequences for sending countries to remittances. Tanzanians living abroad send significant financial resources back to their families and communities. In recent years, remittance flows to Tanzania reach hundreds of millions of dollars annually, supporting household consumption, education, healthcare. Global remittances to low and middle income countries exceed $600 billion per year. Recent research from Tanzania highlights how governments increasingly recognize the role of diaspora communities in national development. This illustrates an important shift in how migration is understood in many countries of the global south. Migration is no longer viewed as a loss of population or as brain drain. Instead, diaspora communities are increasingly seen as potential partners in development. However, migration also raises complex challenges for labor markets and social protection systems. Migrant workers often occupy positions in sectors characterized by temporary contracts, informal employment. This creates a parents, ladies and gentlemen. Migrant labor is increasingly essential for the functioning of many modern economies, yet migrants themselves often remain at the margins of social protection systems. Because these systems were originally designed for relatively stable national labor markets and not for mobility. Therefore, labor mobility is increasingly challenging this model. Migrants frequently encounter difficulties related to the portability of social rights, including pension contributions, health services, and unemployment protection. And these issues reveal the growing mismatch gap between globally mobile labor markets and nationally organized welfare institutions. Migration, therefore, also reflects deeper global inequality. People often migrate not simply because they wish to move, but because structural differences in economic opportunities, political stability, and environmental conditions. Tanzania, your lovely country, illustrates that migration is fundamentally linked to the search for opportunity social mobility. When millions of similar individual decisions are made together, migration becomes much more than a demographic phenomenon. It becomes a mechanism through which labor markets, economic inequalities, and social systems are connected across regions and continents. So, back to my core idea, migration is not simply a movement of people, it is a movement of labor, rights, expectations, and inequalities across borders. The central question is therefore not only how many people will move, but under what conditions they work and live. The aspirations expressed by young Africans, as I have just read recently from a blog about the situation in Ethiopia. Your young people seek decent work, fair opportunity, economic security, but I would like to tell you, not just African young people, everybody nowadays in these very challenging work, we all seek decent work. Including the International Labour Organization's decent work agenda and the European Pillar of Social Rights, these principles could be very, very important for us. And at the core, these frameworks rest on common pillars: equal opportunities, access to employment, fair working conditions, social protection, and social inclusion. In other words, the challenge is not only to create jobs, but to ensure that work provides dignity, security, and opportunities for personal and social development. And there is nothing new under the sun, dear colleagues. We all see this for centuries. And what can be possible response? I try to give some responses, how decent work, how labor rights and social rights and social protection could be. Generally, even from your perspective, be real to us. One possible avenue is the incorporation of different social standards in trade and economic cooperation agreements. Recently, I had a study through a research from Vietnam, a student from Vietnam investigated it, and it can work. It has an impact on Vietnam's labor law. So because free trade agreements are no longer concerned exclusively with the movement of goods, services, and capital. The second avenue lies in regional and regional social security agreements. Pension rights, health insurance coverage, and social security contributions should not disappear simply because workers change this country. This issue is particularly relevant for the relations between Europe and Africa, as structure. And I was also impressed by your regional integration initiatives in Africa, such as the East African Community and the African Continental Free Trade Area, which also offer important opportunities. And in this sense, the future of digital mobility depends not only on migration policies, but also on the development of the transnational systems of social protection that wherever you move, you should be able to belong to the scope of one social protection system and be covered if you cannot go. So the real challenge, and now I'm closing soon, for social law is not to stop migration, but to make mobility compatible with dignity, fairness, and social protection. So migration will occur and is occurring, but how it is occurring and how it will be governed. Whether migration becomes a source of instability or it can be an opportunity for development. It will depend largely and the future of decent work depends on our capacity to ensure mobility, economic development, and social justice come together. And if you look at the level of assistance, you can see that we really come to the people. Thank you so much for your attention and for listening. We will still
And 65 people who are to do it. They're not really active, but they are doing everything that's going on with it. So we are very happy and really good. We was put up a slide, and we also have the link put up the questions we have about healthy basket questions. And so we might not ask all the questions, we're trying to categorize them into the context of where they want to come from and how our plans responsible. So there will be an active discussion coming forward.
Thank you very much. I'm very necessary to be great right now. This is my contact in Korea, and it's not my contact how many people and the first time I had really nice information, many over to and I want to earlier for the some of the that is I was 9 years, a little bit I think it was a very nice place of my thought did that. I hope I was right. I want to get us a bit from the back end, a little bit of what and you to think for the back end work and then you know what. So, when you go to manage money, you don't understand you just want to dress and people and away. Whatever you put in the isn't it? Now that's what I'm going to do. I need to bring you here, a little bit of time. And even let me put it this way. I don't know how to do the investment when I think get a partner, how they do. There is one side is right, the world forum, right out in the quality in the government. And he said that overall, because what I want to hear is to achieve gender parity across. I hope you know this but in area take long time. You get the political space according to that will take about 1 7 years to achieve in political space. Doesn't mean when you of the people of raising items through and people like that. In Africa, we have the three of through and one of Namibia, Daipur, the one of the only out of who knows. About 54 and 1% in that, and if you round off, so if that is a